The Slot era has begun.
Arne Slot. La, 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 la.
And Liverpool are flying.
It's almost like, look at the white shirts coming here. Salah! Liverpool have 3. Salah scores at Old Trafford again.
The former Feyenoord boss has big shoes to fill, replacing a legendary figure like Jurgen Klopp, who was able to win the Premier League and Champions League with the Reds.
And as you know, those were big boots to fill.
Arne. Yeah. Good coach, really good coach.
But watching Slot's Liverpool play such fast and direct football, it almost makes you think that Klopp is still on the sidelines.
There are much more similarities between the former style and the current style than there are differences. That the differences are not that big, so there are only small differences between Jurgen and me.
But while there are similarities, Slot ball is different than the rock and roll system that Liverpool fans are used to.
Showed little elements there of Jurgen Klopp. He's a different manager, and I think the thing that Liverpool supporters enjoy, I think at the moment, is the fact that he's not trying to be something else or play up to any. He's being himself.
Slot's done the exact opposite. He hasn't kind of tried to suck up to the fans. He's just got on with the job, he's got the results, and he's getting the respect for it now.
Slot has a plan that is even better than Klopp's, and he has been able to instill his philosophy onto the team immediately.
It must be comforting to know that the team have adjusted so quickly to your demands.
Despite the start of a new journey under a new manager, Liverpool were not that active in the transfer market, only signing Chiesa and Mamardashvili, who won't even join the club until the summer of 2025. The Reds tried to make a move for Zubamendi from Real Sociedad, but just like their previous attempts of signing a defensive midfielder in Tchouameni, Caicedo, and Lavia, they were unable to acquire their target. From a complete overhaul of their midfield in the summer of 2023 to absolutely no movement this time around, Slot has had to work with the existing players already at the club. The good thing is, not only does Slot have a history of getting the most out of players while working on a budget, but Liverpool already have a lot of talent that fits the exact way that Slot wants to play. What benefits Slot is that the existing Liverpool team is pretty good. This isn't like when Klopp took over for Rodgers when significant rebuilding was necessary. Liverpool already have 4 players who are arguably the very best in their position in the league. Alisson is definitely the best goalkeeper in the Premier League. Fantastic shot stopper, good with his feet. He has been so clutch over the years. Besides maybe Courtois, I can't think of another better goalie. Van Dijk is the best center back in the world. Strength, speed, composure, good on the ball. He is the full package as a center back. Everyone saw what he can do in that Carabao Cup final. Trent is the best right back in the league. People will criticize his defending, but in my opinion, all fullbacks make mistakes defensively at times. Kyle Walker, who is known for being a terrific defender, has looked awful in certain matches, both for City and England.
Some of his defending over the years is shocking.
Trent, while at times can be beat a little too easily or get caught ball watching, makes it up with the fact that he is incredible at going forward. Truly, I think we can call him generational because his passing range and ability to create is not normal for a fullback. Trippier, for example, is good going forward, but he's nowhere near as good as Trent. Reece James isn't this good either, plus he is never healthy. Trent can create chances on his own with just one pass. One long through ball to Salah, and you look back to see that he has carved out an entire defense with just that one single pass. Salah is the best right winger in the league. Saka is a close second, but he still hasn't done what Salah has done. Multiple golden boots, Playmaker of the Season award, PFA Players Player of the Year. Salah is a cheat code. 300 goal contributions in 350 games says it all. Even at times when Liverpool was struggling, this guy was getting goals and assists. The great thing is that not only are these guys just objectively good, but they fit perfectly into the way Slot wants to play.
We're not asking that many new things, we're only asking from them the things they already did well.
Slot prefers a 4-2-3-1 with a double pivot, while Klopp used a traditional 4-3-3 with one holding midfielder. Slot's 4-2-3-1 often turns into a 4-4-2 when pressing, and he's been able to get the best out of a lot of the players. Diaz has added goals to his game, the defense has barely conceded, and Ryan Gravenberch has transformed into Patrick Vieira. Zubamendi now joining Liverpool has turned into a blessing because it gave Slot the opportunity to get the best out of a midfielder who looked like a shadow of himself under Klopp. Despite spending 40 million euros on the midfielder, Gravenberch was never able to put in consistently good performances. He had moments here and there, but nothing crazy as he only started 12 matches. Slot's 4-2-3-1 clearly suits him well, certainly a lot more than Klopp's 4-3-3. Gravenberch plays next to McAllister, while Szoboszlai plays further forward. Gravenberch has genuinely transformed into one of the best players on the team. He's excellent defensively, good at carrying the ball, able to create from deep areas, literally the perfect holding midfielder that Slot was looking for, especially in a double pivot. While the pressing is similar,
We try to press the opponent as high as we can.
Liverpool are a lot more patient in their build-up under Slot. Slot's Liverpool have slightly better passing accuracy and produce more touches in their own penalty area as they build out from the back.
It's also a good idea sometimes to keep the ball. But I think if Jurgen was in the room now, he would have told us, yeah, I wanted to keep the ball once in a while as well.
While Liverpool do take longer to build out from the back, the structure is actually very similar, with Trent often inverting into the midfield.
Trent has been used in the past and we will use him also during this season a lot on the inside.
He wants the fullbacks to not be as wide to allow the gaps between the players to be closer when in possession.
But the ideas of fullbacks or players playing close together is to have short passes which give limited time to the other team to defend, and you can switch play faster, of course.
Combine the way they press with more control and possession, and it's obvious that Slot's teams are more solid defensively.
So we were talking about control, and if you talk about control, one of the things you want to prevent is the counter-attack.
One of the few issues with Klopp was that while his team won games and scored lots of goals, they would also concede a lot. It was a high-risk, high-reward system, so when it got caught out, it looked ugly.
In general, I see that some players are always too many times, in my opinion, try to play the difficult ball, which doesn't get the reward that for the risk they take in this moment.
It was the rock and roll football that Klopp wanted. Fast, direct, but at times chaotic.
They used every moment they could to play the ball in behind or deep. That meant that the game was always also sometimes a bit open, especially in the last period of Jurgen.
They tried to win the ball high up the pitch with the front three pressing the opposition back line, then immediately counter-attacking as fast as possible. It brought the club a lot of success, but Slot's calm, controlled approach has the potential to be even more successful. In the 2024 season, Liverpool conceded 41 goals, so it was clearly an area of the team that Slot identified that needed strengthening. This desire for control also makes it obvious why Slot prefers Jota to Darwin Núñez. Jota's movement and link-up play are crucial to the way Slot wants to play, causing Núñez, a player who started more games last season, to be on the bench. Núñez was very much a Klopp player, someone who really shined when there was a lot of chaos, when there was a lot of stuff going on, so he had less time to think and relied more on instincts. Mohamed Salah, on the other hand, a player who was very much the face of the Klopp era, has adapted well. He talked about the change in approach he has noticed between the two managers.
I think we play kind of different football now. The manager now wants to control the ball all the time. With Jurgen, sometimes we just go counter press and just try to attack them all the time in their half. But here we need to control the game. Sometimes we slow the game down, but it's part of the plan.
Liverpool are still an aggressive and direct side, but now have a greater level of control and composure. Luis Diaz has also seen his goals go up as Slot's system naturally gets the best out of wingers. Same thing happened in his Feyenoord sides.
For wingers, he loves wingers. He asked his recruitment team at Feyenoord to just keep buying him wingers.
One big similarity between Klopp and Slot is that they both get the most use out of their players while working on a budget.
You know, your passion for developing elite young players as well. There are a few similarities between you and him, perhaps.
Outside of Van Dijk and Alisson, whose funds were financed by the Coutinho sale, the majority of players who are iconic Liverpool legends now were smart purchases at the time. Salah was signed for £34 million and was largely seen as a Premier League reject. Mane was a good player at Southampton, but at Liverpool, he turned into a Ballon d'Or candidate. Even Van Dijk was seen as an overpay at the time. But that's what made Klopp so great. No matter where he managed, he turned good players into greats. Give him players that suit his style, and he'll make them fantastic. Slot was doing the exact same thing at Feyenoord, and now he's continued it over at Liverpool. Look at what he's been able to achieve with Gravenberch and Gakpo. He will do the same with Chiesa. Chiesa has been a player that has been overlooked in the past few years due to his injury history and the fact that he was playing in an Allegri-managed Juventus side. Allegri is a fantastic manager, but let's just say being creative and looking good in the attacking sense is not something that's in his strengths. His team win games, but it doesn't look entertaining, and it's certainly not the place for attackers to flourish. But if there's anyone that can get Chiesa back to the levels we saw from him at the 2020 Euros, it would be Slot, a manager who has a great track record of making his wingers play better. Slot has been getting the most out of players throughout his entire career. In his debut as a head coach with Cambuur, a second-tier team, he dramatically improved their standing, taking them from 14th to 3rd in less than a season. At AZ Alkmaar, he was on track for an unexpected Eredivisie championship before the 2020 season was halted due to the COVID pandemic. Later, he took Feyenoord to their second league title in almost 25 years, reached the Europa Conference League final, and won their first Dutch Cup in 6 years. He disrupted the hierarchy of Dutch football in just a few years while working on a smaller budget than the big boys like Ajax and PSV. Slot is someone who has punched above his weight throughout his career, and now by having a Dutch manager, Liverpool should be able to bring in top talents from the Eredivisie even easier. Ten Hag failed with this method, but that doesn't mean there isn't quality in the Eredivisie. Look at Minte at Brighton. He was one of the most electric wingers in Europe when he was playing for Feyenoord, and a big reason for that was that Slot was his manager. Jimenez was an unknown striker from Cruz Azul, and now he is someone who many clubs were after in the summer. Like I said, you don't have to look further than Gakpo and Gravenberch to see the impact that Slot has on player development. One huge benefit of Slot coming in is that he can focus completely on just coaching and managing the players. When Klopp came in initially at Liverpool, the structure of the club was that Klopp would focus on managing the players and Michael Edwards would be in charge of recruiting.
When Jurgen Klopp came into Liverpool, there was this talk of transfer committee. You know, FSG come in and said, we don't want this thing where you're just buying players left, right and centre. We want to put a director of football in. And a director of football or a football and CEO, if you like, they're thinking about the long term of the club.
So, and now bringing all this together and really work on a structure for the future, that's the plan.
However, as time went by, that dynamic changed, with Edwards eventually leaving and with Klopp becoming a more powerful figure at the club. He had more of a say of which players to bring in.
The longer he's there, he almost becomes like the sporting directors.
Perfect example of Klopp and Edwards' early dynamics when Klopp first joined the club was the signing of Mohamed Salah. Klopp initially did not want him, he wanted Julian Brandt, but Edwards and the higher-ups looked at the data, looked at the long-term vision of the project, and realized that Salah was the perfect guy they wanted.
And Jurgen Klopp's quite open about this. He didn't want to sign Mo Salah. He wanted to sign Julian Brandt.
The whole point of this system is that the club brings in players that fit the long-term project. Managers don't typically have a long tenure, so it makes more sense for the club to come up with players that really fit the vision rather than relying on managers who could be changed every 3 to 4 years. It's just a more sustainable model. You don't want to end up like Manchester United where you bring in a new manager, he brings in a bunch of players that fit his system, and then when he gets sacked, the next manager has to deal with all these new guys that don't fit the way he wants to play. Edwards has returned as chief executive of football, but now Richard Hughes is the director of football, basically taking over Edwards' old job. With Hughes in charge of selecting which players to bring in and recruiting, Slot can just focus on coaching.
I can fully go into the things I would like to do, so work with the team, prepare the team in the best possible way, and me and Richard are going to work together when it comes to transfers.
With Edwards' track record, Liverpool fans should be very happy that he's back at the club, even if it's in a slightly different role. Slot is a manager who was loved at Feyenoord. He is a composed, charismatic guy who understands the value of the club.
The fans love to see, both fans love to see a team that wants to do everything to win a game. And if things are tough, they try to do everything to turn the game around.
The way he talks and manages his team is the embodiment of the you never walk alone mentality. He's all about the team as a unit. Win together, lose together. No egos, everyone together as one. Slot understands the importance of being the Liverpool manager.
Came over here not to enjoy my private life, but mostly to enjoy my life being a Liverpool manager.
He has hit the ground running. He has introduced a new, calmer style to Liverpool, which is quite different from Klopp's energetic and bold approach. It's still early, but there's a careful optimism at Anfield. Slot is making small tactical changes that are working well. Liverpool now see more focus and discipline. It's not clear yet if Slot will achieve as much as Klopp did, but for now, the team is moving in the right direction. Calmer, stronger, and more controlled. The good thing for Slot is that he's taking over a team that already has a bunch of stars, players like Mohamed Salah. To see how Salah has absolutely dominated the Premier League during his tenure at Liverpool, you have to check out this video right here.